Good evening. You're watching I-24 News here with the hour's headlines. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Dan Shapiro voiced nearly unprecedented criticism against Israel's presence in the West Bank today. Speaking at the Institute for National Security Studies conference in Tel Aviv, Shapiro praised progress made in the investigation into the West Bank arson attack in the village of Duma, but said Israeli authorities inadequately respond to violence by Israelis living in the area.
We are concerned and perplexed by Israel's strategy on settlements. This government and previous Israeli governments have repeatedly expressed their support for a negotiated two-state solution. Yet separation will become more and more difficult if Israeli plans to continue to expand the footprint of settlements. Settler outposts are being legalized despite earlier pledges to the United States not to do so, while routine administrative demolition of Palestinian structures continues. We also believe Israel must develop stronger, more credible responses to questions about the rule of law in the West Bank. Too many attacks on Palestinians, lack of vigorous investigation or response by Israeli authorities, too much vigilantism goes unchecked, and at times there seem to be two standards of adherence to the rule of law, one for Israelis and another for Palestinians. What is Israel's plan for resolving the conflict, for remaining a Jewish and democratic state? And if it judges a political solution to be out of reach for the time being, then what is its plan for managing and stabilizing the conflict in the short and medium term?
Israeli officials, meanwhile, rejected Ambassador Shapiro's remarks. Our diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev filed this report from the INSS conference.
Dan Shapiro starts with defending the Iran deal and with praising the Israel-U.S. bilateral cooperation, but then he moves on to attack the Israeli government's policy or lack of strategy regarding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Dan Shapiro says that the U.S. is concerned and perplexed by the Israeli strategy vis-a-vis the settlement. He also criticizes the Israeli rule of law in the West Bank. He says that at times it seems that Israel adheres to two different standards of rules of law in the West Bank, one towards Israelis and the other one towards the Palestinians. And he then moves on to direct tough questions to the Israeli government. He asks, what are your plans to resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? How do you intend to help us, the U.S., defend Israel in the international community and in the international arena? And how do you plan to move forward with and leave the two-state solution viable?